Hey, I'm Pastor Rod. Thanks for joining us today. I hope this message makes a difference for you.
Sin is sad. I hate what it does to people and to those who are close to them. It's painful to watch people experience the consequences, even if you don't particularly like someone. You don't want them to experience the consequences of sin. One of the saddest deceptions is the thought, I can get away with this, and no one will ever know. You do something for the first time. You tell a lie or view pornography or steal from your job, cheat on your spouse, and you don't get caught, and it's a rush. You got away with it, so you get a little more bold. And before you know it, you're caught up in a lifestyle of sin. You're getting away with it. No one knows. Your friends don't know. Your pastors don't know. Your spouse doesn't know. Your boss doesn't know. Other people get caught. Other people suffer horrible consequences, not you. You're too smart. That's the way Satan works. You believe the lies. No one will ever know. This is fun. It's not hurting anybody, not even me. I can stop anytime I want. I'm having all the fun and not paying the price. Satan offers you fun and feeling good, but doesn't reveal the price. When you discover the price, it's much higher than you ever imagined. Sin leaves a trail of emotional, physical, relational, and spiritual destruction. That's Satan's real plan. He wants to steal, kill, and destroy. He wants to destroy your life, your marriage, your career, your family, your reputation, your ministry, your influence. He wants to destroy everything. This may not be a popular thought, but what if when you did something wrong, you immediately suffered a visible consequence from God? You couldn't hide your sin, but everyone would see it. Think about it. There's no way you would continue in sin if you knew you'd be instantly caught. If when you gossiped, your mouth became a horse's mouth, you'd be more careful with your words. If when you stole something, you turned into a chihuahua, you'd never steal again. If when you disobeyed your parents, your ears turned into a donkey's ears, you'd be sure to obey. If when you thought an impure thought, your hair instantly turned bright green, you'd be more careful about your thoughts. If when you told a lie, your nose grew like Pinocchio's, you'd never tell a lie again. No secret sins, no secret life. Parents, you'd always know if your kids lied. They wouldn't be able to hide it. But your kids would also know if you lied, cheated, or had impure thoughts. Nobody wants that. Well, maybe for others, but not for themselves. You want other people to receive instant punishment. Well, you want to receive immediate grace. Because after all, you didn't mean to do it. God knows my heart. See, we judge other people by their actions. We judge ourselves by our motives. They deserve punishment. You deserve mercy and grace. The story we look at today, found in Daniel chapter 4, King Nebuchadnezzar sent a letter to the whole world, which was possible in those days. The letter tells a story about when Nebuchadnezzar's punishment for sin became visible for everyone to see. No hiding, no pretending. Nebuchadnezzar was taught a painful lesson. Now, here's what happened before the letter. Then we'll get to the letter. Nebuchadnezzar was a great and mighty king. He was the most powerful man in the world, and he was proud of it. One night, he had a dream that scared him. He couldn't figure it out, so he called together his advisors. They couldn't figure it out either. Finally, he called for one of his prisoners, a Hebrew named Daniel. And Daniel told him what the dream meant. He said, "This is the interpretation, O king. This is the decree the Most High has issued against my lord the king." So he started by saying, God has issued a decree against you. Pretty bold, pretty strong to say to a king that had people killed who disagreed with him. Here's what God says. You will be driven away from people and will live with the wild animals. You will eat grass like cattle and be drenched with the dew of heaven. 7 times, or years, will pass by for you until you acknowledge that the Most High is sovereign over the kingdoms of men and gives to them to anyone he wishes. The command to leave the stump of the tree with its roots, that's all part of the confusing dream, means your kingdom will be restored when you acknowledge that heaven rules instead of you. Here it is in my words. King, you're prideful. You believe everything good in your kingdom, everything good you have is because you are so great. You turn your back on God and you made yourself God. God's not happy. If you don't repent of your pride and change, you're going to spend 7 years living like a cow. We'll see how proud you are then. You'll stay that way until you acknowledge that God is God and you're not. Verse 27, therefore, O king, be pleased to accept my advice. Daniel's no longer interpreting the dream. This is dangerous ground. The captive was giving advice to his captor. Renounce your sins by doing what's right, and your wickedness by being kind to the oppressed. It may be that then your prosperity will continue. And that's it. That's the word from God and the advice from Daniel. We don't know what happened next. The Bible doesn't tell us how Nebuchadnezzar reacted or what the other people around him said. Instead, we pick up the story 1 year later. Apparently, Nebuchadnezzar forgot the dream and Daniel's interpretation, which seems amazing. But it had been a year. Everything was going great. So this prideful king who believed he was above God and above the law wrongly assumed that there would be no consequences to his sin. Pride is dangerous. I'm convinced that pride is the underlying sin that causes many Christians and many leaders to fail. Pride is so easy to spot in others. It's so difficult to spot in yourself. Proud people say things like, well, I'm not proud, I'm just self-confident. I'm not proud, they're just jealous because I'm successful and secure, because I'm better than them. Pride is me first living. Pride puts self on a pedestal. Self can do anything. Self deserves things. Self has power. Self is never at fault. Pride always has someone else to blame. Somebody else's fault. 12 months later, as the king was walking on the roof of the royal palace of Babylon, he said, "Is this not the great Babylon I have built as the royal residence?" Nebuchadnezzar looked out over his kingdom and said, "Look at the wonderful kingdom I have built. I did it. I made it. I made this place great." Pride says, "Look what I've done." You may say it a little different. "Well, I built this business all by myself. I made it happen. I solved it. I quit drinking for a month on my own. I don't need help from anyone else. I can handle it all by myself. I. Nebuchadnezzar, is this not the great Babylon I have built as the royal residence by my mighty power?" Pride says, "I'm great. I'm wonderful. Look at me. I'm mighty. I'm strong. When I think about it, I really am wonderful. The world is lucky to have me. This church, they're lucky to have me. In fact, God is lucky to have me. Look how much money I give. Look at everything I do. What would God do without me? I really am great now that I think about it." Nebuchadnezzar continued, "Is this not the great Babylon I have built as the royal residence for my mighty power and for the glory of my majesty?" It's pretty easy to dislike Nebuchadnezzar at this point, but he made the same mistake so many of us make. This is the most dangerous thought of all. You may not say or even think, "I am great." You may not say, "Look what I did." But how often do you think, "I deserve this"? I deserve more. In fact, I deserve something better than this. You see something good happen to someone else and you say, "Well, he doesn't deserve that," which means he doesn't deserve that. I deserve it. Real fast, let's review something that I've taught before, a grid: blessing, expectation, entitlement. The first time you receive something, maybe even the first couple times, you see it as a blessing. It's a blessing from God. Eventually, you begin to expect it. It may still be a blessing, but now it's something that you expect to happen. And if it doesn't, then something's wrong. And then from there, it is just a short step from expectation to entitlement. It's no longer a blessing. Instead, now it's what you're entitled to. It's what you deserve. The prideful person feels entitled to what they used to consider a blessing. Nebuchadnezzar decided, I deserve all this. I'm entitled to it. Look at me. I'm great. I'm mighty. I'm powerful. I'm king. Now remember, God had warned Nebuchadnezzar. If God told me, Rod, if you keep doing that, I'm going to turn you into a cow, I would tend to remember that. I mean, that's a pretty severe consequence. That's the kind of thing that stays in your mind. Not Nebuchadnezzar. It's only been a year, but he's already forgotten. He's standing there and he said, is this not the great Babylon I have built as the royal residence by my mighty power for the glory of my majesty? The words were still on his lips. And if this were a movie, you'd hear dum, 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 dum. This wasn't a long delay. We want to say, Nebuchadnezzar, don't do it. Don't go there. He's God. He means it. You don't want to be a cow. Stop. The words were still on his lips when a voice came from heaven. This is the voice of God. This is what is decreed for you, King Nebuchadnezzar. And I imagine a pause. And Nebuchadnezzar's knees began to shake. Suddenly, he remembered God's decree. And what comes next is not only what happened to Nebuchadnezzar, but to all of us when we allow pride to take over. This is it. This is the price of pride. God said, your royal authority has been taken from you. In other words, you're not king anymore. It's over. It happened that fast to Nebuchadnezzar. Same thing happens to you and me. The price of pride is you lose the thing that made you proud. Whatever is the source of your pride, whatever is that thing you've put before God, that's what you're going to lose. If it's position, you'll lose position. If it's power, power will be gone. If it's possessions, if you're just proud of your stuff, God will let it be gone. That's the height of ingratitude. The very thing God gave you to begin with now makes you proud. Attention, that'll be gone. Recognition, the money that God gave you, the position that was from God, that talent, it's not because of you, it's because of God gave it to you. See, you thought it was you. You were so proud, and now it's gone. Now it's all gone. Pride will cause you to lose the source of your pride. God wasn't done. He continued to Nebuchadnezzar. You will be driven away from people and will live with the wild animals. You will eat grass like cattle 7 times, that's years, will pass by for you until you acknowledge that the Most High is sovereign over the kingdoms of men and gives them to anyone he wishes. Would not take me 7 years, by the way. If I'm living like a cow, 7 minutes. Immediately, what had been said about Nebuchadnezzar was fulfilled. He was driven away from people. The greatest king of the world, the ruler of the vast empire, a leader with thousands of servants, now found himself hopelessly alone. That's the second thing that happens when pride takes over. You're isolated from others. It just happens. After all, who wants to be around someone who's full of pride? Who wants to be around that spirit? Even people who don't know God don't want to be with you. A prideful person is a lonely person, and that pride will ultimately result in you being isolated from the very people you used to try to impress. He was driven away from people and ate grass like cattle. His body was drenched with the dew of heaven until his hair grew like the feathers of an eagle and his nails like the claws of a bird. The great Nebuchadnezzar, mighty king, eating grass in a field, looking like something between a man and an animal, totally and completely humiliated. I imagine whoever owned the land probably sold tickets to come see the Cowman King. Nebuchadnezzar was the butt of every joke. Everyone was laughing. Everyone was making fun of him. Everyone was talking about him. And Nebuchadnezzar was totally and completely humiliated. He wasn't proud anymore. When you fall as a result of pride, it's not pretty. The fall from pride is ugly and painful. When pride takes over, ultimately, you're humiliated. It just happens. And you might look at this story and you might say, that is so cruel. How could God do that? Or how could God allow that to happen to anyone? Don't forget, God warned him. He knew what was coming. He blew through all the warnings. You do the same thing. Run through your list of Christian musicians and superstar preachers who had amazing gifts and talents and suffered a humiliating public fall. Their sins laid out for the world to see. Big names and small names, they're all humiliated when they fall. It's not just great men. Anyone can fall from pride. It can happen to you or to me when we ignore God's warnings. God's put stop signs in our life. There's people telling us no. His word is telling us no. We have moments where we just know what we're supposed to do, and we ignore that. Just know there is a high price for a pride-filled life. Why? Because when you are filled with pride, you set yourself against God. Look what James chapter 4, verse 6 says. God opposes the proud. Do you know what that means? It means God's on the other side. You become an enemy of God. But he gives grace to the humble. God on your side or God against you. That's the choice. So you've done it. You've allowed pride to take over. You decided you could get away with sin and it wouldn't cost you. You decided wrong, and now you're paying a high price. You identify with Nebuchadnezzar. And when you read his consequences and we go through them, you say, that's me. Now, I understand you don't live in a field and eat grass. But come to think of it, you might prefer that price to the one you're paying. You lost your family or your friends. Your kids hate you because of the hurt you put them through. You completely shattered the trust you had with your parents, with your leaders. You're no longer employable. Nobody wants to hire someone like you. The road back from the debt you're in looks impossible. You lost so much, alone, humiliated. What's next? Once you're there, is there any hope? That's the backstory. And that's why Nebuchadnezzar wrote a letter. He wrote a letter to share his story and to offer hope, how he, through God's grace, found his way back. Nebuchadnezzar shared the road back from the sin of pride, and really just the road back from sin. He wrote this letter to the whole world. At the end of that time, I, Nebuchadnezzar, raised my eyes towards heaven, and my sanity was restored. Do you have a picture? Nebuchadnezzar, alone in a field, reduced to nothing, finally, after 7 years, decided to lift his eyes and look to heaven and look to God. That's the first step back. Look to Jesus. No longer looking to myself. It's no longer about me. I'm looking to Jesus. And you say, but Rod, I have fallen so far. Everyone knows my sin. Everyone knows my failure. I lost my job, or I lost my family. I lost my position. I lost my reputation. How can I look to Jesus? What will he do with me? Get your eyes off yourself and look to him. As long as you're looking at yourself, or you're blaming others, you're still making that same prideful mistake. Look to Jesus. Nebuchadnezzar continued, all the peoples of the earth are regarded as nothing. He does as he pleases with the powers of heaven and the peoples of the earth. No one can hold back his hand or say to him, what have you done? Nebuchadnezzar said, I'm nothing. It's all God. Look how great he is. Look what he's done. He deserves the credit and the glory and the honor. It's all him. And I am powerless to stop him. What an attitude that's opposite from what it was before. It's a really important step on the road back. Admit your weakness. If you've ever been in Celebrate Recovery, what's step one? Somebody call it out to me. Somebody stand up and say it loud.
Step out of denial.
I admit I am powerless to do my own will. My life has become unmanageable. Admit your weakness. You got to start there. If you don't start there, then pride is still resident. It's when people say, well, I can handle it. I can do this. Oh, that's still pride. Instead, it's, God, I need you. I can't live without you. I'm stuck. I'm powerless. I can't fix this. You alone are powerful. It's not about me. It's not about what I know. It's not about what I can do. It's not about what I have. I am nothing and powerless without you. And so I come to you and I confess my need for you. Pride is independence. I can do it on my own. That kind of prayer and attitude is dependent. God, I can only do it with your help. Nebuchadnezzar writes, at the same time that my sanity was restored, my honor and splendor were returned to me for the glory of my kingdom. Nebuchadnezzar was restored. But this time it's a little different. Look what he said. He said, for the glory of my kingdom. It's not for me, it's for them. You defeat pride when you live for others. Pride says, I deserve to be served. Everyone should look to me. Everyone should serve me. Those who depend on God say, I'm here to serve. Everything God has given me isn't for me, it's for his kingdom. So how can I take what I have and how can I take what God's given me and how can I use it for him? Instead of looking to lead, the person who struggles with pride should look to serve. If you struggle with pride, don't join the worship team. You don't need a mic in your hand and light shining on you. Find a ministry that gets no public glory. Find a place to serve others selflessly. Look for the job no one else wants to do. Take a position with no visibility and no attention and no recognition and no glory. Serve God and serve others with no honor. Kill your glory-seeking pride. Serving others is an important step in finding your way back. It's also a wonderful way to prevent pride. Nebuchadnezzar continued, my advisors and nobles sought me out. I was restored to my throne and became greater than before. And that concerns me a little. Sounds like he's becoming prideful, but now he fixes it. Now I, Nebuchadnezzar, praise and exalt and glorify the King of heaven because everything he does is right and his ways are just. The guy who just spent 7 years as a cow is not saying it's unfair what my consequences are. He's saying what he does is right and his ways are just. Nebuchadnezzar was using the good things in his life to talk about God. One of the best ways to defeat pride is to talk about God. It is difficult to be proud of yourself when you're talking about what he's done. Share your story. Share what God has done for you. Give him glory. And now Nebuchadnezzar finishes his worldwide letter with a warning. He ignored God's statements, and now he has a warning for others. This is the final statement in Nebuchadnezzar's letter to the world. And those who walk in pride, he is able to humble. Ooh. Guess he knew that firsthand, didn't he? Don't ever forget what pride cost you. When you walk in pride, you will be humbled. Remember the price of me first living. Remember the price of pride. Don't ever forget. Now, some of that price is our own doing. It's natural consequences we suffer as a result of poor choices. But Jesus in Luke 8:14 said, everyone who exalts himself will be humbled, and he who humbles himself will be exalted. Like a loving parent, God is willing to discipline and allow you to experience consequences so you will learn. But first, he gives you the option to change. If the Lord has pinpointed pride as an area in your heart that you need to deal with, like Daniel to Nebuchadnezzar, I give you this warning. There's a price to pride. Humble yourself before the Lord, and he will lift you up. All that stuff you're doing, trying to lift yourself up and trying to promote yourself, trying to make sure everybody knows about you. All that stuff doesn't work. It never will. The path is humble yourself before the Lord. And when you do, He will lift you up. I told you at the start, I hate watching the consequences of sin in people's lives. It's painful. I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. But allow their consequences to be your teacher. It's the price. And there is a price for sin. And regardless of how cute and special you are, how smart you have, how much you have, price is the same. I want to pray for you. Would you bow your heads? This is a tough story. Pretty tough word. I know that. But I want to pray for you 2 things. Number 1, I want to pray for you if you say, Rod, as you're talking, I have some concern. I think I identify some pride in my own life. Now here's the funny thing. Anytime you do a response for pride, proud people won't respond. If you say, I've allowed that. I've allowed pride to creep in and I see it. Would you pray for me? Because I don't want to pay the price. And I want to learn from Nebuchadnezzar's mistakes instead of making my own. If that's you, I'll just pray right where you're at. Although what I should do is have you stand up and come to the front and turn around and face the crowd. So we'd kill that pride. But I'm going to pray for you right where you're at. If you say, Pastor Rod, pray for me because pride's an issue. And I see that. Just raise your hand. I'm going to pray for you right now. And I thank you for honesty. Lord, you see people in this room who in a really vulnerable moment said, I see that I've allowed pride to sneak in. Lord, sometimes we're prideful for the things that you've been doing in our life, which seems so foolish. But Lord, I pray for each of these. I pray that they would heed the warning of Nebuchadnezzar and that they would follow your instructions. You said, if we exalt ourselves, we'll be humbled. But if we humble ourselves, we'll be exalted. Lord, I pray for each person that you would help them to learn the lesson and to humble themselves, to selflessly serve, and to avoid the pitfalls and the price of pride.